I wonder if these guys are open. I may need a new job, being that I'm a buyer's agent.
How you doing, man?
What's up?
One of the reasons
I think we may be seeing more realtors apply for jobs as waiters when July comes around this year. Hopefully I won't, but is the buyer's agent a thing of the past? Are realtors going to be leaving the business? Is it the death of a realtor? Well, we're going to talk about that today. So you may or may not know that the National Association of Realtors and quite a few big brokerages across the country were involved in a class action lawsuit. If you've been paying attention to the news, that lawsuit came to a head, and they had a settlement of about $418 million that the NAR agreed to pay over 4 years. The lawsuit stemmed from a lot of things. I'm not a lawyer and I'm not giving any legal advice, and I don't have all the details, and there's lots of videos you can go watch about the lawsuit. We're not going over that part of it today. But in a nutshell, part of the agreement was that sellers could no longer advertise, or realtors could no longer advertise a commission in the multiple listing service. So if you're a seller and you're selling a home and you were offering a commission in the past, in the remarks for the realtors, it would say what the agents were being offered for compensation to bring a buyer to that house. That's gone as of July. They will no longer allow that in the multiple listing service. Doesn't mean that sellers won't offer a commission and can't offer commission. It just means that it can't be advertised in the multiple listing service. So that leaves a lot of questions for a lot of people, especially agents and buyers, as to, well, who's going to pay compensation? But we're going to talk about what the future looks like, or what it could look like for no commissions for buyers agents, and how that's going to affect, buyers, sellers, and everyone in between. So lately on social media, if you're a realtor, if you're not, you may know a realtor, they're freaking out. A lot of them are, because there's a lot of unknown right now. What's going to happen? They don't know if they're going to get paid. They don't know if they're going to have a job. People are just really, it's like madness, especially on social media where everything is stupid anyway, except for this YouTube channel. Now the media has been having a field day with this. There's been a lot of negative and I think some bad press about the whole situation. I think about how realtors are compensated. I think there's a lot of misleading information out there that has a lot of people sort of vilifying realtors. And yes, I'm a realtor. I'm a licensed realtor. I have been for 12 years. And, I do a good job, and the people who've worked with me can attest to that. But that's what we're talking about right now. So, but the way they've sort of put this story out there in the news is that realtors were all this gang of bad people getting together and telling people that you had to pay this commission or your house wouldn't sell. And that's BS. Now, are there realtors who did that? I'm sure there are. Are there bad realtors? I'm sure there are. Are there bad police officers, bad lawyers, bad anything? Yes, they are. But most of the realtors that I know and the ones that I've worked with are not. They're just honest, hardworking people. So first of all, commissions have always been negotiable. What does that mean? When I went to your house and you're asking me to list your house, and you ask me how much I charge, I might say X amount. And if you said, well, I only want to pay this amount, I had the option of saying yes or no. And if I said no, I walk out the door and the next realtor comes in and he says yes, and he gets a listing. But I'm not stupid. I need to feed my family. So if they asked for X commission and I agreed to it, that's what I took. And I've done that many times, meaning it was always negotiable. I never told someone, well, you have to pay this commission. They don't have to. They don't even have to use a realtor. There's plenty of people that do for sale by owner. They do it all the time. And yes, you can sell your house without a realtor. Many people have done it, although some find it very difficult and they come back and realize it's better to have a professional. But again, you can sell a house by yourself. And on top of that, you don't have to have an agent represent you to go buy a house. If you're knowledgeable enough and know how to do it, and many have done this, go buy the house yourself. You don't have to have a realtor. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the scenarios about what we see could be happening. One more thing, part of the lawsuit. They were saying that realtors, buyer's agents, were we're taking people to homes that had a higher commission than, say, the commission on the other house. So basically, when the sellers agreed to pay whatever commission they agreed to pay to a buyer's agent, if one house had a higher commission to that buyer's agent than another, that the realtors were taking their clients to only the ones that had the biggest commission. And I know a lot of you are going to say, yeah, they do that. And I'm going to tell you that's BS. I've never done that. And the people I know who are good agents don't do that. But again, as I said, you always have good and bad in every industry. So I'm sure people did that. But I don't think it was the norm at all. All right, so before we do that, let's talk about what it's like right now. So presently, the way it's set up, you go to a seller, you do a listing contract, you negotiate a commission that the seller pays the broker. And part of that commission is to pay the selling agent their portion of the commission and a buyer's agent their part of the commission. And right now, the multiple listing service allows you to advertise that compensation to the buyer's agent. So whatever that number is, the realtors who are with the MLS, they can see that in there and they say, okay, I'm gonna be compensated this amount if my buyer buys this property and he comes to a close. That's how things are right now. What's gonna happen in July, they will no longer allow the multiple listing service to advertise a commission to the buyer. So the commission that we would see in there was what we were being compensated. It didn't say what the selling agent was getting compensated. The selling agent could be getting compensated more than what the buyer's agent. Again, things have always been negotiable, but that's the past. And now what's coming will be, there won't be compensation listed in there. Does not mean the seller still can't offer compensation to get their house sold. It just can't be put in the multiple listing service. All right, so let's talk about the different options. So option one, the seller is offering compensation. You want to buy the house. I represent you. We put an offer on the house closes. We go to the closing table. The title company has commission to the seller's agent, commission to me as the buyer's agent. Everybody's happy. The way it's been working for years. All right? Scenario two. Seller is not offering compensation. You like the house. You want to see the house. Hold on. So if the seller is not offering compensation, the first thing that you're going to see happen coming July is that every buyer's agent is going to require that their buyers sign a buyer's broker agreement. Yes, there will be a form. It will be a contract between you, the buyer, and the brokerage. And it's going to state in simplest terms that I, as your buyer's agent, will do these duties for you: search for homes, negotiate, run comps, do all these things as your agent, and I am entitled to X amount of commission. Now, if the seller's paying that commission, great, I get the commission. But remember, we're on scenario two, and the seller is not offering compensation. So what does that mean to you? If you sign the buyer's agreement, I'm guaranteed to earn X amount of commission, which can either be negotiated, where maybe we get the seller to offer a concession, which they've been doing for years. Just happened on a transaction I'm working on right now. But here's the worst case scenario, which is what's got everyone freaking out about, buyers and buyer's agents. What if the seller doesn't want to do any compensation? He doesn't want to give any credits. He's not paying any commission. He doesn't care. He's like, here's my house, you buy it. And if your buyer's agent needs compensation, you, the buyer, pay me, the buyer's agent. Yeah, pretty scary, isn't it? There's a lot of different reasons why that's scary. For one, let's think about first-time home buyers. They're already coming into the transaction with little to no money anyway. 3.5% down, maybe closing costs, maybe a total 7%. Now you're gonna ask them, hey, you need to come up with an additional X amount to cover my compensation. How's that gonna go? And in just a little bit, we're gonna be talking to a mortgage expert and we'll ask that exact question. Well, they can just roll it into the financing, right? Yet stay tuned. You'll see the answer. You don't have X amount of commission to pay me, but you really want this house. So if you've signed a buyer's agreement, you've agreed to pay me if we move forward and go into contract and all that. But you may say, well, Paul, I just won't use a buyer's agent. I'll just go straight to the listing agent and deal with them. Sorry, sayonara. All right, so you don't use me, you go straight to the listing agent. You can do that. You can represent yourself. That's some people, as I said earlier, can do that. Most people don't have a clue how to buy a house. There's a lot more to it than, as many of you on social media have said, well, you guys just open doors. You've obviously never stepped in the shoes of a real estate agent a day in your life if you think all we do is open doors. But I know my worth, but we won't go down that. There's no point. You're not going to believe me. So the ones who work with me, they believe me. I'm not going to change your mind. You're not going to change my mind. So you go straight to the listing agent. Now, hopefully that listing agent has worked out, or maybe he hasn't, with the seller that he said, hey, I'll represent you in selling your house for X amount. But if a buyer agent comes to me, I want to get compensated this amount, so that because I'm now doing double the paperwork and happen to do everything for the buyer and do everything for the seller. Again, that's between that agent and that seller. Maybe they don't. Maybe they do everything for free. They do all the work, working with the lender, making sure they're actually qualified, getting them in touch with home inspectors, and all the things that can happen during negotiations, like quotes for work that has to be done and repairs, and a laundry list of things that take place on a transaction that most of you guys who've never bought don't have a clue about. But they're there. I'm dealing with it right now on a transaction this very minute, today. So that's one of the options. You could also, well, let's leave it there. So you go to the listing agent and decide to work the deal with the listing agent. Now, in Florida, we are considered transaction brokers. What does that mean? It's kind of like dual agency, but we don't call it dual agency. It means that we can represent the seller and we can represent the buyer, but we really represent the transaction. Again, it's not legal advice, but that's what we call it. So it allows us to represent both parties, but they have limited, responsibility to the seller now and limited responsibility to the buyer. They're just kind of a mediator. They're handling the transaction. And that has been the case for years. I've done transactions where I was handling both sides of the transaction. But the majority of buyers, from my experience, prefer to have someone that they know and trust who has their best interest in mind, who's working on their behalf. And that's what a buyer's agent is, someone who's working on your behalf to make sure that they can get the best deal for you. The seller's agent's working for the seller, trying to do the best they can to get the highest amount of money for the seller. The buyer's agent's doing his job to try and get the house for the lowest price and the best overall deal. That's how it has been. But with these new changes going into effect, will people have buyer's agents? By the way, if you like my channel and these videos, please be sure to hit the subscribe button. And if you ring the bell, you get notified every time I make a new video. I try to post a new video every Sunday at 10 a.m. and occasionally do live streams. So I appreciate that. We're almost to 19,000 subscribers. Thank you all very much. So for the most part, most people do want to have a buyer's agent. They like to know that they have someone who's on their side, that's representing them and knows, who to call for what, a lot of things, whether it's inspection and things like that, and dealing with the homeowners association and all the list of things that buyers have to go through. And they want someone that's going to help them through that. And that's what I've always done as a realtor. Now, I work with a lot of buyers. My YouTube channel focuses on you. A lot of people who are thinking of moving from California, New York, and Canada and coming down here, and you want to know the area. And that's the value that I bring, because my channel provides you information about what it's like to live here and what's going on in the real estate market. And then from there, I add all my other value that I bring to the table, my years of experience in negotiating and helping you guys find a property and get you the best deal possible. You don't have to use a buyer's agent. You can go do the whole thing on your own. I've seen all the comments on social media, on TikTok, oh, you don't need a realtor, you just go to the title company. Well, no, that's wrong. Let me correct you on that. Title company will handle the closing. The title company will not show you the property. So you're like, well, so what, Paul? We'll just go look at it. Okay, you go look at it. Title company won't tell you who to call for inspection. Title company won't do anything but handle the closing process. They also won't write up the contract. Well, we'll just get a lawyer. That's right, you could. You can call a lawyer. Again, all the lawyer is gonna do is write up the contract. They're not gonna go show you the property. They're not gonna run comps for you on the property. They'll write the contract up for you and they'll charge you for that. And then if your offer doesn't get accepted, you're still gonna pay the lawyer. Versus me, who's written 15 offers up before, well, maybe not 15, but a lot, and they weren't accepted. I didn't make a dime until we finally got one that was accepted. Lawyers aren't gonna write up 15 contracts. They're not even gonna write up 3 contracts for free. They're gonna charge you for every single minute they're helping you, because that's what lawyers do. They're paid by the hour. So you're not gonna have them. But you could still go do it on your own. People talk about it. You can go all the negotiating, do everything on your own. But as a lot of people have pointed out, if it was so easy, why haven't people done it until now, right? Why haven't they been doing it? Why have they for years and years and years used a realtor to help them buy a house? If it's that easy, everyone and their mom would have gone and done it without a realtor. Now, as I mentioned earlier in this video, I did say that, one of the things that people are wondering about is, can people build in the commission with their financing? So when they get loan approval, can they apply the commission to that? Like, is there a way to finance the commission to the buyer's agent? Another big question, which is a huge one, is for VA buyers. They can't pay for anything as far as compensation to a realtor, transaction fees. They're not allowed to charge it. It's part of the VA rules. So how are they going to buy homes if they're, again, if they have to pay a commission to a buyer's agent? Let's go talk to her. She's a really good person, has a lot of great knowledge about mortgages. So let's talk to Michelle. With me today is a good friend, Michelle Wilkins with Rhino Funding, and she is a mortgage lender. Michelle?
Hi, Paul. How you doing?
I'm good.
I've been in this industry for 20 years and have seen the good and the bad, and this is just a change that we all have to accept and go with.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's happening.
It's happening. So we just have to embrace it and do the best thing for the buyers.
Okay.
And the sellers.
Right. All right, so everyone's concerned with the changes after the NAR lawsuit. Buyers are probably freaking out. Agents are freaking out. Agents, I'm not going to work for free. Buyers, I'm not going to do that. I'm not paying you a fee. Like, if the scenario, we've talked about a couple scenarios in the video. One being the seller is still offering compensation, which is kind of how it's been. And they offer compensation to me, a buyer's agent, and everything goes through like normal, and you do your part and we do our part. The other option is, and we know we're starting to see it already, some sellers are like, no, great, I'm not going to pay a commission. The buyer can, figure it out, whatever. So if that happens and these buyers have signed a buyer's broker agreement with me saying that I get X amount of commission if the seller isn't going to compensate me, how do they get that compensation or that commission structured into a deal? Because I know right now they don't.
They don't. And a lot of buyers are doing a loan with 3% down, 5% down, 3.5% down, and VA 0% down. So where is this money coming from?
Yeah.
There are meetings that are going on the wholesale level, not the retail level, not the Bank of America's, but on the wholesale level, there are meetings that are going on. Hopefully we'll have more information in the next couple of weeks onto whether they'll allow maybe the commission to be rolled into the loan amount.
So they are aware of it, and they're
They are
like
aware.
everyone. Okay.
Oh yeah, everyone is aware of what's going on. UWM, which is the largest wholesale lender, is having these meetings right now as we speak, and next week they're going to involve brokers.
So, another big question that comes up, and I just did a transaction, was VAs. VAs, they won't allow them to pay for anything. Like if I have a transaction fee, and they said no, they can't pay that, so you have to eat it. How do they play into this? Because 100%, they don't put any money except closing cost.
It's the same thing. They're thinking about possibly rolling it into the loan amount, like they roll their funding fee into the loan amount, which is happening right now. And if they do something like that, then the appraisal will not be affected. It will not have to appraise for that higher amount
That's interesting.
if they do that.
So obviously, there's going to be some challenges for the buyers. Now, if the seller is able to offer sort of a seller's credit, a compensation that would go
Seller's
towards,
contribution.
right, but instead of going to the buyer off their closing cost, it might go to the buyer's agent. And again, it's
Which the buyer's agent will be part of their closing costs.
Right, so that
it
would-
would still be a seller's contribution towards their closing
and that would
costs.
be on the HUD or the closing disclosure.
Absolutely.
There,
Yeah.
okay. So that's one option, right? Now the other option, obviously, they could look for a less expensive house. So if they're pre-qualified for $400,000, right? Maybe they look for a house that's less than that.
If there are houses.
Right, it's
I
the
mean,
market's
that's-
changing, but if there's a home, they'd have to look for a less expensive house to maybe offset some of that commission, so or whatever fees would be in there.
Either way, I kind of feel like it's going to go back to the seller. The seller's going to have to offer the buyer some type of a compensation or a contribution to make up for this.
Right.
It can't come out of the buyer. And the way that I see things now, it is not going to come out of the buyer's pocket. There's
It's-
also a lot of programs out there. And there's still a lot of programs that are giving the buyers money. First-time home buyer programs.
That's
where
true.
they could get up to $10,000 to be put towards their closing costs.
Right.
So that potentially could be used. There are options.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a time to freak out. There are definitely options.
There you go, from the mouth of an expert. Not time to freak out. Michelle, I can't thank you enough for your time. Thank you for your valuable insight in this. Appreciate it. Listen, her information will be in the About section, a link to her. If you want to reach out to her, she's great. We've done a lot of transactions with her. She's a true professional and a great person. She lives here in the Palm Beaches like many of us, and she'd be happy to help you guys out. Michelle, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll just...
Good luck.
Yeah.
And we'll get through it.
We'll get through it. Man, it's definitely warming up outside. Still an absolutely beautiful day here in Delray Beach, but I did have to stop and get myself a nice coffee. Great little coffee place right here, Colombian Coffee House, right here on South Federal Highway on 5th. I got myself a nice iced latte. It's perfect because it's getting a little toasty out. And by the way, guys, you know I like supporting local businesses, so come check them out. I was talking to the owner, nice guy, cute little place, had some delicious looking pastries in there. And of course, if you guys want to support me, go to www.buymeacoffee.com/palmbeachespaul. There you can help support the channel. You can buy me a nice coffee. Summer's coming. You know I'm going to be sweating. All right, back to the video. All right, so that was Michelle with Rhino Funding, and she was great, and I hope she answered some of your questions. Like right now, there is, nothing set. They're aware of the situation that's going on, but until everything is set and becomes official, we don't know how the mortgage lenders are going to address the issue with financing the commission for a buyer's agent for the buyers. So we'll see where that lands. Noisy right by the road. But, at least you have a little bit of knowledge that they're looking into it. We'll see what the future holds. Again, all this is, kind of we're still navigating through these new waters. So we'll see where we end up. One thing I do know is going to happen is it is going to shake up the industry, and there's going to be a lot of realtors getting out of the business. Hence the name of this video, Death of a Realtor. There's a lot of realtors who don't do this full time. They do this as a weekend job. Maybe they do one transaction a year for their uncle or something. There's going to be a lot of realtors that are going to end up out of this business. Probably about 30 or 40% of the realtors are going to end up getting out of this business. I don't have a choice. I'm too old to start a new job, so I know I'm going to stick with it, and I will do whatever I have to survive, as I always have. I know the value I bring to my clients. You can look me up on Zillow, realtor.com. You can look up my Google reviews. I know how well I've worked for my buyers, and they appreciate it, so I'm not worried about it. But there are a lot of realtors that they just don't know what's going to happen, and they're probably going to get hit and blindsided, and they'll end up leaving this industry. So as a whole, I think that's going to be good. Not that I'd like to see anybody lose their job, but I think it's going to clear the field and leave it for the people who really treat this as a profession, and the people that are there trying to make a living and doing it the right way, not as some kind of part-time hobby, like, hey, let me help you buy your biggest asset. Oh, by the way, I got to go do my real job. In short, as a buyer's agent, you're going to have to show your worth. You're going to have to show why you're worth someone paying you a commission, how you can benefit that customer hiring you to help with that transaction if they choose to do so. Some will, some won't, I'm sure. That's just going to be the way the real estate market goes. I will continue to bring you information and the value that I've done for the past 7 years on this channel about what it's like to live and buy real estate and sell real estate here in South Florida. That's my job. I'm a realtor, and that's what I do. I think I do a good job of it. As I said, the customers I've worked with over the years have been extremely happy, whether I'm helping them sell or buy, because I don't just look at a commission. I look at them as a customer, a client, and many times my friends. Yeah, I'm going to continue bringing you guys information about what it's like to buy and live here, and we'll deal with this as it goes, right? As things change, I'll update you, just like I have been about the condo crisis and about insurance. I'll keep telling you guys because that's what I do. I don't sugarcoat it. I'm here, and this is how I built my business, by being truthful with you guys. And this is just one more thing that's going to change your industry, and we'll see how it works, how it goes. If you think hiring a professional is expensive, wait until you hire an amateur or do it yourself. And with that, I'd like to wish each and every one of you a very happy Easter if you celebrate it. If not, I hope you have a beautiful day nonetheless. It is an absolutely gorgeous day here in paradise as the train goes by. So wherever you are, get out and enjoy your paradise, and I'll talk to you next week. Take care.